Woohoo, we're live. Okay, so this video is all about starting a climbing gym. Let's make sure that I'm in the right spot. Now I have the camera or my phone turned around so I cannot see the screen. I cannot see any comments. So please save your comments till after the video. I'm doing it live because if I shoot the video, then I'm going to spend hours editing it and making it all pretty. And I just need to get this out. And I have a plan prepared for this, an outline, which I normally don't have. But I wanted to start out with first, who the heck am I? Who am I to give you advice on starting a climbing gym? Well, I have started a climbing gym. We are in our first year of business. We actually just finished our first year of business. And my projections on the gross side of the business were pretty spot on. That doesn't necessarily mean that I am qualified to give you advice. I actually feel like maybe I am the least qualified climbing gym owner to give you advice on it, but I do get a lot of questions from people about starting a climbing gym. So that's why I decided to make this video. It's not because I feel like I'm the most qualified, but because I'm getting a lot of questions about it and I want to feel that. So my background in business, when I was in high school, I started my first business, and that was making climbing holds. Here is a shape that I shaped out a little while ago. Actually, this one's been sitting on my desk. It's not going to be going to production, which is why it's sitting on my desk. But I do that for fun. It's kind of a therapeutic thing for me. That I worked that business for maybe 3 months. Like, really didn't even get off of the ground. And then life changes happened. I started my next business in my early 20s as a massage therapist. This business was called Medicine Hand Massage. That lasted, I think, for about 2 years. It really didn't have a defined dying point. It just kind of faded away. There was a point where I took on a lot of business, what I thought was a lot of business expense back then, and I didn't have a good plan to take that forward. So when I decided to start a climbing gym, the plan was definitely a big, big factor. And if you're planning on starting a climbing gym, you must have a plan. Now, in my mind, and the plans were not necessarily in a written format business plan, but on spreadsheets. I worked spreadsheets a lot. I looked at different gym memberships. We had some local climbing walls that I helped with. And these are not full on climbing gyms. These are like a climbing wall in the back corner of a workout facility or at college, the college wall. Those can give you a really good insight on what it would look like for a dedicated climbing gym where your sole focus is climbing. We are bouldering only here. We are pretty close. If you look at my projections, what we had for the first year in my projection sheets before we opened up to what it actually was, we are $4,000 in the positive. Now, I wish that were the case. Our costs are way off. And part of that is due to the building that we moved into. The building is, I would say, pretty vital for a climbing gym. It dictates what you can do as far as the space and what you can offer. It's also our biggest one expense. So if you look at all of our expenses, the building is our biggest expense. And I don't know if that's the same with other gym owners. Probably not. That definitely was not in my plan. My plan was that our employees would be our biggest expense. And I know that talking to other gym owners, employees is always a big expense. When I first started out, I noticed that the balance between day uses and memberships was quite a bit off in reality. And what you should expect is when you're running your numbers is I would say the balance between day passes and your memberships probably start out as 70% day pass, and then it'll go to 60, 50, and hopefully 40. And that will kind of swing that way. Right now, just after our first year, I looked at last month, and we are just a little bit over 50% of the revenue between memberships and day passes was day passes. So we're still fairly heavy on the day passes. You should also look at every single angle that you have in your community for a business. And that's not just the positive angles, but you need to look at the negative angles as well and include that in your business plan. Your written business plan is going to be very important when you're going to financing, and throwing those negative things in there and how to deal with those negative things really looks good to the bank if they even look at the business plan. They're most likely going to skim through it. There are some banks that I talked to that they had people that went through the business plan with a fine tooth comb, and they love seeing those things. You've looked at everything. That will show very well for you. Okay. So yeah, that's the importance of business plan, a little bit of my background, and I'm definitely going off tangent here. That's why I am doing this live. So I would like to go back and edit this out and kind of change things up, but I can't because it's live. It's already up, and I hope that there's some of you watching out there right now. But I know that most of these views are going to come after the video, and if there's any comments, please just save them till the end of the video. I will come back through and answer those. The other question, before you even really start getting too in-depth into the business plan, is you need to ask yourself why. Why are you opening a climbing gym? Okay. I had a response from a gentleman not too far away from where we're at, a different state. He asked me, and I'm gonna use his exact words here. My goal for opening a climbing gym would be to apply what I love to do: build, create, and help, while creating a future for my family and living an active lifestyle, not stuck behind a desk. And Mike, just based on that, we would probably be really good friends if you are around, because that's pretty much what I would have said to someone like myself now when asking for advice. That's why I want to build it. I love to build things. I am really good at building things, and I love climbing. Climbing has changed my life. It has given me the confidence to start a business, to go out on the limb, to go do things that other people are afraid of. That's what climbing has done for me, and that can do that for a lot of people. So I do want to give that back. This community that I'm in right now, and the communities all across this nation, our youth especially, is really needing that. And I don't just mean youth as in little kids. I'm talking like 25 and younger. They need to know that they can accomplish anything that they put their minds to. And that it's not just a gimme, you have to work for it. And climbing can teach that in a really good, positive way. And I want to bring that back. Now, what in this goal, what I hesitate to say, yes, you should go start a climbing gym, is this last part: building a future for my family and living an active lifestyle, not stuck behind a desk? Well, unless you've got a lot of big money behind you, you're going to be stuck behind a desk, at least for the first 2 years. Talking to the owner of Stone Age out in Albuquerque, New Mexico, he said it was really, really hard for the first 3 years of his business. It was constant work, constant at the gym. And when you're at the gym, you are not climbing. You are the business owner. You are the manager. You eat glass. You do the things that nobody else wants to do because it needs to be done. And if it's not done, you fail. So you will be stuck behind a desk. If you think working for somebody else and building their business is hard, it might be because you don't quite know what it's like to be on the other side where you are the owner, where you have all of the responsibilities, the failures, the successes. Okay, they come together. So keep that in mind. You will probably be stuck behind a desk. If your reason for opening a climbing gym is to make money and to climb a lot, probably shouldn't do it. Now, there are those unicorn experiences out there that people have been able to do that. They are the exception, not the norm. Yeah, I have another friend who's in El Paso, Texas. His gym, and it's a small bouldering gym, just became satellite. So he can operate his climbing gym from wherever he wants. And yeah, he's able to go climbing a lot. I mean, at least that's what it seems to be. But if you looked at my life, you might think that as well. But I haven't been to the local crag probably close to a year now. I have been able to climb outside, but those are, special trips for other reasons where I'm just able to go out and do some climbing, which has been wonderful. But my climbing has definitely gone way downhill. In fact, maybe I should change the title to this channel as just Was Climber Dad. Hopefully not. I still have climbing in my heart and I love climbing. I do get to do it, just not as much. Okay. The last thing that I want to talk about here is going to be financing. Financing is a huge thing. A lot of the gym owners that I talked to before we got our financing, most of them received their financing before it became really, really hard to get financing. Right now in America, it is really hard to get that financing. Banks are super tight, and with good reason. They have in the past, there's been this balloon of money that just popped and it just that. Okay, so it can be really hard. We talked to over 10 banks before we got any approval for money. To do that, when you go into a bank, you need to look the part. And I'm not talking about climber bum part, which you might be able to fit that part the majority of the time, but I'm talking business part. The banks don't really care what type of business it is, as long as you know what you're doing and that you know on the stats that you can make it successful. And flip-flops and a dirty t-shirt with cut-off jeans does not say that. You need to look like a business person. So even if you need to borrow a shirt and tie from a friend or some business apparel, do it. Okay, look the part when you're going and talking to these businesses. Your first impression does make a big difference. It really comes down to the guy in the back office, whether he says yay or nay. Some of these banks that I went in and talked to, that main guy, he would come out and talk to you. If it's serious, he would want to see you face to face. Okay. Dress your part. Be persistent. Like I said, we applied to over 10 banks. So if you just go out and you say, yeah, I can't get funding, my local bank said no, go to another one, and another one, and another one, and another one, and another one. You should also at least have 10% self-funding for your project. If you don't have at least 10% of what you think your project is going to cost or what you're asking the bank for, then it needs to be set aside, and you need to work like crazy and save until you have at least 10% set aside. Also, family and friends. I would say just off the top of my head here, I would say about 48% of our funding is from family, friends, and self-funding here at Clarksville Climbing. So that makes a big difference. Now our biggest lump sum of money did come from a bank, and that was all at once. And so we thought it was just this big, huge thing. But when it comes right back down to it, I would just a little less than 50% of the money that it's taken to build this gym and maintain this gym has come from family, friends, and self. So keep that in mind. I hope this answers your questions on building a climbing gym and whether you should start a climbing gym. If I left anything unanswered or you want to discuss further, comment on this video below. I will be watching that. Thank you for watching Climber Dad and supporting me in this business endeavor. If you want to support the channel, I'm going to have an Amazon link down below. How those Amazon links work is when you click on one of my links and you purchase anything. It could be a can of soup. It doesn't matter. As long as you take that link and then go to Amazon, I receive a small commission fee for that. And I really appreciate that. That's been helping out a lot. Even though it's little amounts, it's a big relief. So thank you. And I'll see you next time right here on Climber Dad.